Is heaven a haven for the disabled? This is not just a casual query, but a profound exploration into the realm of theology. The question arises from a literal reading of the Bible, specifically Matthew 18 verses 8 and 9. These verses seemingly implore, if your hand or foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. At first the verses appear harsh, invoking images of self-harm. However, when viewed from a different angle, their true intent starts to emerge. For instance, consider phrases like, annoyed to death, used in Mandarin. No one actually dies. Instead, death is a metaphorical tool employed to convey strong feelings. The same principle applies to interpreting the scripture. The references to amputations and eye gouging are not literal directions, rather metaphorical expressions emphasizing spiritual growth. It is not about physical ailments, but about ridding oneself of spiritual stumbling blocks, sins, and vices that might obstruct our journey towards divine grace. The scripture isn't advocating self-harm or physical mutilation, but encouraging spiritual growth. So when we ask, is heaven a haven for the disabled? We need to remember this. The scripture is not about physical disabilities. Instead, it's about spiritual impediments. The mention of cutting off limbs or gouging out eyes is a metaphor for dealing with anything that could cause one to stumble. Consider an ancient Chinese proverb by Mencius. Fish is what I want, bear's paw is also what I want. If I cannot have both, I would rather take bear's paw than fish. Life is what I want, righteousness is also what I want. If I cannot have both, I would rather take righteousness than life. This is a perspective on life, a philosophy that suggests life is not just about physical existence, but about preserving one's soul from evil and injustice. This is reminiscent of the famous saying, some people live, but they are already dead. Some people die, but they still live. This resonates with the spirit of sacrifice found in Christianity. But there is a crucial difference. The righteousness Mencius speaks of is moral righteousness, while the righteousness in Christianity is the nature and holiness of God. These two concepts of righteousness are not mutually exclusive. In the nature and holiness of God, there is the essence of all noble human morals. But it goes beyond personal cleanliness and ascends to sacrificing oneself for all beings. This is why the scripture says, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5, 7, 8. In conclusion, the scripture's seemingly brutal call to self-mutilation is a metaphor for dealing with stumbling blocks in our spiritual journey. It echoes the ancient philosophy of choosing righteousness over life itself, but it goes beyond personal morality to embody the nature and holiness of God. It calls for a sacrifice that not only surpasses human moral requirements, but also fulfills the essence of all laws.